This week on the podcast, it's just us boys. We've got some games to talk about in the Steam Next Fest. Rev goes deep on Backbone. We talk about Oculus getting ads and more in this week's episode. Roll the intro. Hello and welcome to Next to Nothing, a podcast for gamers on a budget. I'm your host, Danny K. With me, as always, the wonderful, the beautiful, the Mr. Green. How are you doing?
I am doing about 150 times better than last week. I feel so much better. I could taste things. Everything is great. I'm doing well.
You kind of cut out there a little bit. You said you can taste things and you're feeling great?
I'm feeling fantastic. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I am doing really good. With us, 99.9% of the time, it's the powerful, the beautiful, the Revs fan. Padre, how you doing?
I am exhausted and dirty. I have grease on my face that's not face paint, and my arms feel like Jello. And I am ready to absolutely destroy a video game for the first time, I think, on this show. That's not the calling.
Yeah, it when you were in there and said you have a review and it's not going to be favorable, I was confused because you don't usually review games that you don't enjoy or that you don't like. So I am very interested to hear about this. But firstly, we do have go ahead.
I was gonna say I'll bounce back next week when I cover Chicory. I bet. I mean, that game's been an absolute pleasure so far. So
yeah, got you. But we do have some a little bit of housekeeping to start up with. First off, we appreciate you guys for watching and listening. If this is your first time with us, we hope you enjoy and get a lot of value out of this show. If you guys miss any part of the podcast, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcast. You can also, if you guys are watching us there, if you find us on those platforms and want to join us live, you can join us live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on twitch.tv/DannyK. And every week we do have a question of the week. This week I'm asking you guys, how do you stay hydrated? Just let us know.
hydrate or dihydrate.
Exactly. Hydrate, you beautiful bitches. It's good for your skin and your mental health. So yeah, go on ahead and let us know how you stay hydrated in the YouTube comments. You guys can also tweet at me at DannyK, DANIECAE. And yeah, do we just want to get right into the Steam Next Fest? I have a couple games that I demoed. And I know Green does, and Rev, you got some stuff to talk about with it too.
Yeah, I have one to talk about. Let's go. Do it to it, Lars.
All right. So, Steam Next Fest, if anyone who is not aware, there was, is it still going right now? Can one of you guys verify?
I looked, I'm not seeing it on the store anymore.
Yeah. So it was this big thing where they were highlighting devs on Steam, games that you're going to be able to buy on Steam. You could wish list, you can get some demos and check them out. So I demoed a couple games. First game that I demoed was Severed Steel, which was an absolute gem. Severed Steel, we mentioned it in one of our previous episodes, as it got some trailers and gameplay at, I believe, the Guerrilla Collective or during the PC Games show. I think it was one of those two.
It was during the PC game show because it was right after the dude from New Blood Interactive got cut off.
Oh, yeah. So so we did talk about it, and I thought it looked cool, and I was actually really happy to see that it had a demo. So I downloaded it, and I fucking loved it. It's a fast-paced first-person shooter with bullet time mechanics and parkour. The game has a super loud neon techno-inspired aesthetic. The game's music is fantastic. The art style is great. The package just overall is wrapped up really nicely with this game. Into the mechanics, movement is fluid. Everything is smooth and dynamic. You can run on walls, slide on the floors, dive, jump, and you can combo it all together in a super satisfying way. Like, you feel, once you get the hang of it, you feel badass moving around in this game. Very much people are like people want to compare it, and I think even their marketing is kind of like Mirror's. They're like comparing it to Mirror's Edge.
Yeah, after watching the trailer, it was very like, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong though. I don't know if Mirror's Edge had that like slow-mo mode, really, did it?
No,
Because that's real. That's a really intriguing aspect of this game, and I love the fact that when scores pop up and stuff, they stay where they're at, and you actually can move around them. Really neat.
Yeah. So, I'd also kind of compare this to Super Hot a little bit too, with some of the like combat mechanics, and I'll talk about that here in a second. I will say, nothing like I didn't like experience any bugs, but things just kind of felt weird in terms of like I lost my orientation a couple times. Like I would like go for like a slide and then be like, oh shit, where am I at now? Like sometimes the bright shiny neon stuff kind of in fast motion it would kind of disoriented me a little bit. But I can't think of a moment where I felt like I was clipping through anything or anything major happened with the movement. Everything felt great and polished. Combat is also super satisfying. You can kick doors open, kick enemies while sliding or jumping. All the weapons you get, you pick up from those enemies, and they all feel fairly varied. There's like an SMG that kind of similar to a Mac or an Uzi, right? That really boxy handgun styled SMG that you feel kind of like a badass, you know, like you should be driving down the street with it. There's also assault rifles and shotguns and burst fire pistols and hand cannons. Everything felt varied and fun. Like this is a game that like the guns feel every bit as impressive as the movement and the bullet time mechanics, right? So there's no aiming in the game. When you right click, you go into slow-mo. And you have a limited amount of the slow-mo which you have to replenish by dealing damage. Right? So you have like a few moments of it, and then you go and shoot somebody and you deal damage, and it can last longer, so you can kind of like chain your shots together, right? So you can like break into a room, bust down that door, slide in, and like chain your shots together in slow-mo and like wipe out an entire room of guys like super quickly. And it feels as cool as it sounds. Very Matrix.
Huh.
I only played it on the easiest difficulty. I imagine the harder the difficulty, the what it probably does is like lowers your health and makes the enemies a little bit more reactive, because they were like a little less reactive, and I felt like I could take a few more hits than I probably should have in the easiest mode. So I think that's how they amp up the difficulty, is by making enemies a bit more reactive and making your health lower, so that you have to plan out and chain your shots and actually kind of like move with more intention than what I was doing. Overall, the game was really fun. I think the full version is going to be really fun, especially if it's as well polished as this demo was. And I think this is going to be a game that if you like speedrunning games, like if you liked playing like Dishonored at like high chaos, this is going to be a game for you. So yeah, that's Severed Steel. I have another one. Do you guys have anything you want to ask me real quick on that?
No, you're pretty straightforward on
I
it.
was watching some gameplay like along with like while you were talking about it, and that's why I was sitting there. Man, it looks really nice.
It does.
Look, like it's. I'll say this: like from what I could gather, it looks very polished for it being in demo stage right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's still being in pre-release.
Yeah. The next game I played during the Steam Next Fest was called Echo Blade. It's just a fairly interesting game. It's a little bit more. It's very much more indie than most of the other projects I looked at. It's a game where you play as a blind prisoner who has to use echolocation to defeat enemies, navigate a map, and get past traps in order to escape a dungeon. The game achieves this by keeping the screen entirely dark and highlighting objects that make noise or reflect noise. So there's like certain items like on the wall, like it'll just be like a fire, right? Well, that fire crackles a little bit, so it'll like highlight that like pretty dull, like kind of dully. Um, or like a dude who's just walking, he's gonna like appear, especially because like all the guards wear armor, so you can see like their full silhouette in red. Um, the There is a part of the game mechanic where you can like clang your sword, and on the screen the environment will briefly illuminate, right? So you just like hit your sword on the ground, and like it'll show you very quickly, like it'll be like a wave of light
Like
emanating.
Daredevil.
What? Yeah, yeah. And then it'll show you like the environment, and so like the environment appears as gray, red for enemies and traps, blue for story and friendly entities, and a few other colors to indicate other elements of the game. I'll also say the game leaves footprints behind you, so you can see where you've already been, and that you can follow them back if you need to. The combat of the game is pretty bland. Right now, you just have sword swings, and you can shoot a crossbow. There's nothing like super interesting or nuanced about the game. In terms of combat, the challenge I would say really comes in maintaining your awareness of the environment as you fight, so you don't get cornered or run into a trap. That's really where the nuance comes in for this game. The game ran super well. I didn't run into any glitches or bugs. And I think the game is as well put together as this demo. It'll be for sure pick up for anyone looking for something that's interesting like this. Yeah. So that's Echo Blade. Green, what you got for Steam Next Fest?
Well, the first one I picked up was Song of Iron. Song of Iron is a side-scrolling like Viking game, where you're avenging your village, and your loved one. I think it's like your wife was killed during like a raid. Uh, it's a pretty simple game. I mean, it's a straight a side scroller. You're just walking forward. There's combat to it. You start with an axe and a shield, and then as you fight, you can block with the shield. You can like dash back a little bit. You can roll in either direction. It almost has like a PS2 aesthetic to it, but it looks really nice. It's almost like a graphic novel for like the background, like the actual like settings. And then another interesting thing is like the enemies will actually come from like third dimension. Like they'll be like in the background, and they'll move forward into like the actual 2D lane, like the side scroll lane, for you to fight them. And the controls were simplistic, fantastic. You get a bow and arrow too. Um, Blocking is a really important part with the mechanic that I found. Um, as I said, it's super simple. It looked gorgeous. I definitely wish list the game, and I'll definitely be getting it for both my PC upstairs and my game PC because I don't it was definitely a ball for a demo. Um, but yeah, that was pretty much it for Song of Fire. I mean, I can't really explain everything because there wasn't like a lot of like insane detail about it. It was mainly like the demo was mainly just like the combat and stuff like that, and then like setting up the storyline. There is like text scrolling when they're talking instead of like actual voice acting, but like when you're moving in the game, the character does have like a grunt that was like an actual voice. So that I kind of found odd, like if they're gonna do actual voices for like the character movement, why they didn't just do like dialogue in actual voice. But I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it was really fun. I definitely am waiting for this to come out because it was a ball. As I said, it was great.
Yeah. What was your other game?
The second game was Dread Templar. Uh, eh, it's very reminiscent of like OG Doom. Like it was supposed to be like a '90s style FPS shooter, mixed with like new, like actual nuances, like combat, like from like Doom Eternal. Like their biggest thing is that it was it had ninja aspects to it, and I say ninja in quotations because you don't actually like sneak around. You're not stealthy. Uh, the summary in the game page is you are a Dread Templar who entered hell seeking revenge, but in order to get it, you have to fight your way through the Dark Realm. So, but yeah, you start off with like the tutorial. You get so familiar with the movement and like the weapon system. We start with dual katanas that they double as like a ranged weapon as well. Which it's interesting because you stick them together and essentially make like a javelin of katanas, and then just chuck it at someone. Um, and then you also get like dual wielded pistols. I know there's like shotguns in the game, but I didn't get to a point where I picked up a shotgun. And then the character also has like a dash ability, and it is on a cooldown. Same with like throwing the katanas, it like cools down, but you don't actually like go and pick the katanas up. You can't pick those up. They just reappear in your hand after 20 seconds or so. Um, and the dash ability, you use it to get like to different platforms or while you're in combat and you want to evade enemies. So it was very similar to like how Doom Eternal has like that dash, but it wasn't like an endless dash. Um, the game felt okay. Like it was fun for a boomer shooter. Um, my biggest gripe is the dashes felt kind of clunky. Sometimes it didn't work. Like I'd press the shift button to do the dash and nothing would happen. Especially when I tried to do like the jump and dash, as well as the jump. The jump sometimes didn't want to work either. Um, my biggest issue with the game was while I was playing the demo, I got stuck at a point where I was like locked in a cage. Like I had to go on top of the cage, drop into the cage to flip a switch, and then there was no way for me to get out of that cage. I couldn't jump up out of it. The door was locked in front of me. I couldn't punch my way through it. I couldn't throw something to press a button to unlock something. And at that point, I just ended up rage quitting. So, um, I would definitely want to see more like uh, user friendly tips and stuff like that. So like have like a clear objective of what you're supposed to do. But yeah, it wasn't great. Honestly, I hope they don't try to sell this for a lot of money. Yeah, and honestly, like I don't know if I could foresee myself paying any more than $5 for it. But if you're a fan of like the original Doom, it's definitely in your category.
Gotcha. You remind me of one thing I wanted to add to my Severed Steel.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick. So there's a point in the demo, in like the tutorial part of the demo, where it wanted you to dive through a square window, which seemed too small. And I sat there for a little bit, like there's a door that was like locked, right? But you can kick and punch and shoot doors, and you can do that and they'll like crumble away, right? Well, I did that basically to the point where there was no more door left and it still wouldn't let me through. So I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, why? Like,
The hell is this?
what the hell is this? There's an invisible door in this door. The door was in fact a wall. So there was just like a weird thing where I'm like, that's a little odd. Like that's
They
not.
should probably just fill the door with an actual wall. Like,
Yeah.
have the door as an option.
Yeah, it was just a little weird. It took me a minute to realize that, like, oh, hey, like these square windows are a little like they look small, but you can actually dive through them. It was a bit odd. Just like like I kicked the door. There's almost no door left. Why can't I get through still? So yeah, that was something I did want to add to Severed Steel. Otherwise, the game was fantastic. And Rev, you got something you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I had one that I tried that I didn't realize was on the Steam Next Fest thing until recently. For pure transparency, for me covering this demo, I will be getting a free code for the full release of the game. I always transparency. Anyways, I played a game called Unmetal, aka Metal Gear Solid the Parody. That's the easiest way to describe this game, but we'll go in a little bit more depth. So Unmetal is a game Unepic, what's his name? Unepic Ran, I believe is his name, is developing it, and Versus Evil is publishing it. And this game okay. So it's like, imagine like an older, kind of more maybe like a 90s, like early 90s version of like a Metal Gear Solid game, where it's like, you have the kind of top down camera, not like full top down, but like, I guess would you consider that an isometric? I'm not exactly sure how you would.
45-degree angle.
Yeah, it's like slightly tilted from top down, but not a whole lot. Kind of like when you're walking around the overworld of Pokemon in a way. Very similar to that. So it's set up in that style, and the whole game opens with this helicopter flying out of the sun, and it was like in 1970 something, a crackpot team of operatives arrested me for a crime I didn't commit. And it shows him jump out of the helicopter, point guns at him, and he's like, "Put your hands up." He throws his hands up. It's like, "You're under arrest for a crime you didn't commit." So it's like very self-aware and like in the way it approaches these things. And so you're sitting there as your main character, which is Jesse Fox, which is such a fitting name for such a goobery game. But you're sitting there discussing things with like the events that unfolded with a military leader of some kind, and you're sitting there telling him the story of how things worked out. But then you're actually like playing the game, and as you progress through the game, he continues to tell the story. Yeah, like I said, it's very Metal Gear Solid-esque. There, you have to be really stealthy. One of the ways you distract the guards is by literally just tossing a coin on the ground, and they're like, "Oh, hey, a coin," and they'll walk over and go to bend over and pick it up, and you just beat the shit out of them. And it's so hysterical. But there were a lot of little like Easter eggs and stuff and things you could do that you probably shouldn't. Like there was a giant propane tank that I punched it a few times and it blew up and it was game over. Like it just killed me. And you have to break a lot of stuff to find things. There is some like nuance to it when it comes to like the puzzle solving aspect. But there was a boss battle. And the boss battle was against a guy named I think the Grenade Master or something like that. And you get over there and you're like, "All right, I'm going to fight this guy." And he's like, "So tell me, what was this area like?" And you tell the guy, "Well, there was a ditch between you and the guy." And then it was like, "And in that ditch, there were tentacles." And you see these tentacles pop up in the ditch. He's like, "And skeleton arms." And like some skeleton arms start reaching out and then fire. And then the guy just goes, "I think I'm going to scratch that from my report." And they all just disappear, but the ditch is still there. And then after the boss battle's over, you have to go, like you sit there, you say something along the lines of like, "I knew if I was going to find the key, I had to search his body." And the guy goes, "Well, how could you search his body? You said there was a ditch." He's like, "Well, there was a bridge on the ditch," and the bridge appears. It's like, dude, it's so funny how the game like adapts with the way the guy's telling the story, and the humor in it is just second to none. It's so good and so clever because, like I said, it's like very, very self-aware of what it is. Like it does not pretend to be anything it's not. It is a goofy game that plays like a goofy game, and it was some of the most fun I'd had. I mean, I don't play a lot of demos, but that right there was probably the second most fun demo that I'd ever played behind Kraken Academy. I already wishlisted it. I mean, even though I guess it doesn't really matter if you're getting a code, but it's something that like I'm like, if it's going to help the devs get this game out there, because I feel more eyes need to be on it, I'm going to wishlist it anyways. And I can't recommend it enough. Metal Gear the Parody. That's long story short.
Nice. Was there anything else from Steam Next Fest that we wanted to mention?
No, I am ready to get mean though.
Rev is going to show us his backbone, guys. He's going to show us some backbone. He's not the soft, squishy, lovey guy that you know him to be, at least all the time.
I'm still soft and squishy, but that's something I'm working on.
Yeah, let's go. Backbone review, Rev. Let's go.
Fuck. Okay, so here we go. Backbone was okay. So it's like let me get the actual game description here. I have it pulled up. It's and boom. The actual description is a post-noir narrative adventure. Become raccoon private eye Howard Loader and explore dystopian Vancouver inhabited by animals as you uncover a deeply personal story of change and transformation. Wow, I did not realize they put a spoiler right in the middle of the fucking description. So first off, they're not all the animals in the game are anthropomorphic. It's full of anthropomorphic animals, like upright walking animals, but they're all mammals. Like anything that's not a mammal is still like a regular animal. And yes, you play as Howard Loader, this raccoon. First off, I want to go ahead. We'll do the compliment sandwich here. I'm going to say something nice about it before I absolutely just tear into this fucking thing. The art style was really good. The art style was really intriguing. It was really well done. The animation on it was done really well. It was, it's kind of more pixelized, and it's got like this kind of like 2.5D type side-scrolling aesthetic to it. But this game led me through a journey. I'll go ahead and start by letting you know the basis of the game is Howard is hired by a woman to find out if her husband's cheating on him. So within the first 15 minutes of the game, you go looking for this guy and you find him. Turns out he's been visiting this really shitty club, been doing a lot of drugs, and he was murdered and being cut into pieces. Now that's where shit starts to get weird. Like you start to uncover all kinds of conspiracies. I don't want to go into it just in case somebody does hear this absolute dumpster fire and still says, you know what, maybe I will play the game. In which case, I mean, sure, money wasted if you want. I'd have just as soon give it to some random person. But yeah, again, it was like aesthetically, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. But then the story started out fine. It was promising. It was, it was very, very narrative driven, a lot of story being told there. But then you find the science lab that you were looking for, and essentially it becomes like a big ripoff of Venom at some point. And then the ending of the game was an absolute ball buster. It was convoluted. There was nothing. It wasn't like one of those like artsy kind of things where it's like, oh no, there's like a hidden. No, there's a reason that this thing has like a 5.5 out of 10 stars rating and mixed reviews on Steam. It's because it just became trash at the end. It's like they gave up. This game had hype behind it, and that's the only reason I'm so disappointed. Had it been just another off the wall, random, unknown, obscure game, whatever. But I had been following this game for a while because there was some hype behind it. And to have them just rip the rug out from under you and say, you know what? We didn't quite, this is how it felt to me. We didn't quite finish the game. So actually, you ready? Last season of Game of Thrones. We didn't really have it figured out. So we're just going to rush it into some randomness that really just kind of rips apart your entire, like every storyline that's being told all the way up to this point just gets ripped right out from under you. The best character in the game dies. I'm not going to tell you who it is. In the most anticlimactic way, dumbest way. It's just, dude, it was trash. Like the whole third act of the game was just an absolute dumpster fire. It was like $20. It took me like 5.5 hours to beat it. And like, I don't necessarily want my money back, but I want my money back. It was bad.
Was this a bad movie feeling, like that feeling when you're at the theater and you go, why the fuck did I sit in the theater for this? Is it that kind of feeling? Why did I
No, okay. No, I'm going to give you the actual honest to God description I can give. And this is going to sound maybe like it's like a comparison made for mature audiences. Fuck it. We say F word all the time. Imagine you're having like the most intense, intimate night of your life and you feel like you're about to hit that. And then all of a sudden, just like out of nowhere, Thanos snaps your partner and you're left with nothing. Like that's what that felt like. like right there at the end, right before you could, make all of it make sense and all of it be beautiful and all of it be amazing. Thanos snaps and your partner's the one that disappears right in the middle of it. That's what this game left me feeling like.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
I was so disappointed. Like, and what was sad was I enjoyed a good portion of the game up to that point, but I'm one of those people that an ending can make or break anything, which most people are. Most people are that way, like most people don't remember Saw for the story that led all the way up to the end. They remember Saw for that awesome twist of an ending, right? Like I'm one of those people too. And to have that ending just like I felt like I took like a really, really awesome poop, but I sat on the toilet too long. My legs were asleep and I tried to walk and fell on my face in a dirty bathroom. It was, I wanted to like it. And when the ending happened, I was like confused at first. And I was sitting there thinking like, did I miss something? And I looked up because I was streaming. I looked up in chat and everybody, I specifically remember reading the words worst video game ending ever. And I was like, except I heard it like the dude from Simpsons, worst video game ending ever, kind of guy. But it just, and there it is. There's me. There's me. Just, and I tried to be complimentary about a good, because there were some positives in it, but not enough positives to make it a good game.
So
not enough positives to make it a good game.
I do want to ask real quick. The art style looks good.
Yeah,
like the art style
beautiful.
looks competently put together. The game was competently put together. Was the biggest negative for you really the story?
Yeah, the story, because like it wasn't just the ending, but it was like it was starting to fall apart at the end.
Yeah,
like it started to feel like there was a lot happening without any real substance. Like it was just like, we're building up, and then it's like, wait, something's not right here, and then boom, the game's over. Like, wait, what? And the lead up to the ending, there's like this point where like right after it starts feeling like things are starting to fall apart and it's just starting to not be very good anymore. Like it just started to feel very muddled, I guess would be a good word for it. The whole story started to feel muddled. Right after it started doing that, it hits this one point that was like really slow and boring and really didn't add to like you're in a cell at a science lab and you're getting to know the scientist who's there with you, and that's like you're kind of like talking to each other, but it's not really driving any story. It's not building anything. Like that's why I was sitting there thinking, maybe this game was going to be like 4 or 5, 6 hours longer, because like that was right before the end, and I was just like, wait, what just happened?
I don't know if this is going to be an apt comparison. Is it kind of like Evangelion? Is it kind of like Neon Genesis Evangelion with the ending? And I have a follow-up question to this. If you've watched Neon Genesis,
I have not. I haven't watched it. But it's just like I said, one of the best comparisons to an ending I can find is like imagine if the Game of Thrones ending happened, but it wasn't as exciting. Like there wasn't at least like flashy, cool stuff happening. It was just like all these storylines that we've been building and all this character development we've been building is just going to be kind of just thrown all the way back to season 1 or 2, and then but without all of like the actual catalyst that was at least exciting to watch.
Yeah, it sounds very much like the ending of Neon Genesis, which I'm gonna just. I know there's gonna be someone who's upset. The ending of the anime series was shit, and the movie didn't make it any better. I'm saying it.
I don't know why the way you said that, it reminded me of that guy. He's like, sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
Anyways, so. The reason I was also going to compare it to I'm going to compare it in a sense to Neon Genesis is they tried to fix the ending of Neon Genesis with a movie. Do you think this game's ending can be fixed with an update?
They would literally have to retcon it. Like they would literally have to retcon the entire ending. I don't know, like they would literally have to just rip the whole ending out. Like the last 10 minutes of the game, they have to rip it out and add like a solid 4 hours of continuing story for it to even make sense.
So
Like
yes,
they kept
'cause that's
talking about all this all these new drugs and everything that were on the streets, but they never really played like made it seem like that was going to be a very, involved part of the story, and it really wasn't. And it's just like, I don't know, man. There was a whole lot of stuff in there that didn't have to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was another big issue, was that there was a lot of stuff in there that didn't have to be. And it made it, I don't know. It, like I said, it made it kind of convoluted, because it's like, well, what about all this other shit that was going down that that's all going to be unresolved? We're not going to know anything about that anymore. Like, sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit, and this wouldn't be a shit.
Green, you've been pretty quiet.
I feel like the devs aren't gonna like change anything. They're gonna be like, they're gonna go on like a Twitter spree of like, you guys just didn't understand the ending, like Inception. You know, like those Inception fans that think they have everything like figured out. You know what I mean?
Look, like here's the weird part. Like, if you go and look at the devs that made this game, it's the only game that they've made. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it's the only game they've made. It's not the only game that Raw Fury has published, but it is the only game that Eggnut has made. Don't know why I didn't look at that name first and just realize that it probably wasn't going to be taken seriously. But I mean, I don't know. Like, whenever you go and look at their stuff, they've only tweeted since the game released on June 8th. They have only tweeted one thing, and it was for a job opening.
Was the job opening staff writer?
God, no, it's tech lead. I'm sorry, but no amount of tech is going to fix this. I hate to just ream an indie game, but I was hyped for this game for months prior to release, because I saw the aesthetic and the style and everything. It was like this, like I said, this like post-noir narrative, but then like the narrative just kind of went nowhere. It's like that post-noir narrative. That's two words, because post-noir is hyphenated, and half of that's not even accurate, because the narrative was not there. There was not really a narrative. It seemed like there was, but it led nowhere. Where you going? Fucking nowhere. That's a Boondock Saints reference.
Yeah. So I feel like we've gotten a lot out of you, Rev, on this. Let's wrap it up, and then we'll go to a break and talk about some news in a minute.
We're gonna get riled up again. Let's
go.
We
are.
Don't lose the energy, kids.
So yeah, let's wrap it up. Any final thoughts on Backbone?
I will. I'm gonna go ahead and make it known now. The likelihood that I ever purchase another Eggnut game in the future, ever, is very, 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 very slim, if at all.
Yeah. Wow. Those are strong words from Rev. Guys, we'll be back in 2 minutes. Stay right there.
Ad break.
Please join us for Summer MIDICon 2021. This event is open to the public at Iowa Brewing Company in downtown Cedar Rapids, Iowa. There is a 2-drink minimum in order to attend this event. Come meet like-minded creatives right here in Iowa. Network and collaborate with other live streamers, video makers, podcasters, and influencers. Just a fan? Come have a few drinks with your favorite content creators. This is a safe and welcoming event with a focus on community building and growth. All ages and experience levels are welcome. Enjoy delicious and refreshing locally made beer in the gorgeous Iowa Brewing Company tap room. Kombucha and a soda fountain are also available for non-alcoholic and underage attendees. Iowa Brewing Company does not provide food at their location, but encourages you to order from other amazing local businesses in downtown Cedar Rapids. So join us for this amazing event, Saturday, July 24th, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. And we're back. So, Rev showed us his backbone. I have nowhere to go with this. I was trying to think of something, but let's talk about...
I just hid the game on my Steam library. That's how I'm just like, I'm done.
Oh, Jesus.
Wipe it.
All right, let's talk about Facebook adding ads to Oculus.
Let's keep that pissed off energy, people. Although no surprises here.
Exactly. You know what? We find that we do better numbers wise when we get fucking mad. So let's do it.
Oh, fuck Facebook, dude. That's why nobody streams on your shitty platform.
So surprising literally nobody, Facebook is preparing to test in-app ads in the Oculus VR ecosystem, starting with Blastin by Resolution Games, and 2 more apps are getting ads later. Right, so a lot of people, if they didn't know this, there weren't ads in the Oculus ecosystem already. It was something that Facebook said that they weren't going to do, but just like how they said they weren't going to require people have a Facebook login, they changed their minds and or lied, depending on how you see it. And they had to put out a statement. Quote, "This is a key part of ensuring we're creating a self-sustaining platform that can support a variety of business models that unlock new types of content and audiences. This is a new innovation in the advertising industry, and it's still early days. We're currently investing in unobtrusive ads as a new way for the developers to build businesses. And though we're not quite ready to test them yet, we're also exploring new ad formats that are unique to VR."
What a way to get your people excited.
Right?
Remember when we talked about how bad it was going to be when Facebook purchased Oculus?
Yeah, I think the collective in it, I don't think the show's around when that happened. But
no, I thought it was, because I'm pretty sure whenever they, or no, sorry, not when they bought it, whenever they said that they were going to make it like you had to tie your Facebook account to it.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah. That was, we knew it. We called it.
Yeah. Because why just, Facebook's business model is entirely built around the fact that you are the product, right? You, the user, are the product. They take the information that you provide them, and you provide them lots of information in ways that you don't realize you do, and they sell that to advertisers as targeted advertisement, because this is someone who works in marketing and radio. The closer you can get to the exact person who's going to make a purchase in advertisement, the better, right? Radio stations create personas. One of the personas that one of my radio stations had was Jason, age 35, works blue collar job, maybe has a kid, possibly married, but also possibly single, right? So they create these things and they go and take that to advertisers and sell that, right?
And your pictures to the government.
So there is no surprise that they wanted to connect the Oculus to the Facebook account, because that's where all your advertising information already was. And now it only makes sense that if they're going to have your attention on Oculus, they're going to start selling you advertisements there.
As you said, surprising no one.
Surprising literally nobody. Yeah, I mean that's like my whole thing with this story is like, there's nothing to be surprised about, more just annoyed. Right? Like, I can't imagine an unobtrusive ad in VR. It's literally inside your fucking skull at that point.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned it when we were discussing this prior to the show, like in the Discord chat. It's literally what IOI was wanting to do with the Oasis on Ready Player One. Have you seen Ready Player One, the movie? So you know what the Oasis is, though. You've seen like the
Yeah.
concept of the movie, right? Like it's that
Mhm.
virtual reality world. The whole point, like IOI wants to own the Oasis because they can. They even said something like, we can actually obscure up to like 80 some odd % of a player's vision before they start inducing seizures. That was their whole thing. Was like they wanted to place advertisements in like their virtual world in the Oasis. I'm like, Facebook is IOI. They're the bad guy. Fuckers.
I mean, yeah, they'll literally turn anything in the Oculus ecosystem into like. Have you ever been to Times Square?
Yeah, actually I have.
Yeah, it'd be like Times Square. You can't find a place in Times Square that isn't covered in an advertisement.
Yep.
And that's what Oculus is going to look like in like 6 months, guaranteed. 6 months. Any especially any free to play product.
Remember when Facebook didn't have ads back in the day?
Back in the day, which was a Tuesday.
Yeah, and they were like, they even said it in the what was it, the Social Network? Where like, oh, we don't want to advertise yet. Advertisement isn't cool. Facebook's cool. Facebook's not cool.
No.
Facebook's not cool anymore.
Facebook was only cool long enough to kill MySpace, and then they were like, all right, now we don't have to be cool anymore.
Now we're just gonna fucking advertise everything.
Advertise all the things.
Yeah. So like overall, I don't think anyone is surprised by this. I think a lot of people are annoyed. I don't have an Oculus system at all. I don't know how this is really going to affect Oculus users. Like in the in the nuance ways in which the ecosystem operates and how the apps operate. I really hope that the advertisements are subtle and that they're not super intrusive, but I have no faith in that. I don't know how you can feasibly make, unless it's literally just product placement like a fucking poster on a wall in the VR system. I don't see how it could work any other way. I have a feeling this is going to be like a fucking mobile game where it's going to stop your playtime for you to have to click off an ad.
Oof.
Or like what EA pulled. Right, was it EA? No, it was
2K.
NBA. 2K, yeah.
Yeah, 2K.
Yeah, the 2K. Yeah.
Where they started making you watch ads in between your like your periods on your fucking NBA game. Right?
This is it's a scary, slippery slope, my guy. Like that's what worries me the most about it. It is a scary, slippery slope to see where it can go from here.
Yeah.
And then somebody's going to come up with a replacement idea, just like they did with MySpace to Facebook. They're going to come up with a great replacement idea. It's going to do great, but then what's going to happen? The same fucking cycle.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, like advertisement's a necessary thing, right?
But there's a limit.
There's a limit,
a line,
and there's tact and taste that has to be accounted for it, right?
Yes.
Like there has to be basic principles that advertising has to take into account for the enjoyment of the consumer and for the ethics of it all too, right? You have to advertise in an ethical way. I'm not dogging on advertisement. As someone who, like, my entire, like, I'm obviously leaving my radio job. Like, I literally started a new job Monday, but that new job is marketing. As someone whose entire job prior to this was scheduling advertisements and working entirely in a radio ecosystem with advertisements, I understand that they're needed. They're needed for the platforms who provide services. They're also needed for businesses who need to, obviously advertise their products. But we have to watch that line. We have to call out bad behavior. I think anyone that works in advertising has to call out bad behavior and recognize when there are very obvious, like, ethical and humanitarian concerns. And this, yes. Like, in VRs, again, yeah, they're saying it's innovative. Yeah, it is. It's also not well tested out for just basic functions. We start adding in what could be emotionally and physically manipulative ads into VR, and I don't know how the fuck anyone's gonna want to deal with it at all.
Right.
Yeah, I don't trust Facebook. Like, I still wholeheartedly believe that Facebook, like, uses the microphone like outside of like when you have the app launched, so that way it can like listen to you talk and then throw you ads. And then like there was a trend a few years ago where people are like, picture of me 10 years ago versus now. Like that is them giving the government your pictures
Oh, I don't think it's the
a
government.
fucking for facial recognition.
I think
Absolutely, I could see it like a 10-year progression thing, like to test their facial recognition.
maybe I actually think it's hackers and identity thieves.
That's
Um,
fair.
I think the vast majority of that shit you see on Facebook, where it's like, haha, like, what's your phone's real name, or whatever,
Yeah.
like tell me your Batman name, and then it's like, use your birthday or whatever. Like, that's all just social
Yeah.
engineering to get people to provide sensitive data in what looks like a harmless way for hackers to steal identities, to like pull that information and open up fraudulent accounts, right? If you're born they answered this thing where they said that their birthday was January 1st, 1977. I know their name because it's on Facebook, and I can get their phone number. I can like then link their phone number to their address. I can now file for like a credit card.
Yeah.
Like, that's what all that information is there. I think a lot of it is
the
more.
picture thing though.
What's that?
Like the picture thing. I don't think hackers would like use the picture thing.
Well, that actually wasn't necessarily on Facebook. That was an entirely separate like app.
Yeah. Well, I would say some of the picture stuff would also just be used to generate like fake IDs.
Yeah, that could be. I don't know. It's fishy. Like,
Yeah.
why would you post a picture? Why
PH.
would everyone post a picture 10 years ago versus now? Like that is just like mind-boggling to me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even like posting pictures on Facebook. Period.
Yeah, I very rarely post anything other than the podcast on Facebook.
I don't like using Facebook.
So
anymore.
Yeah, that's Facebook adding ads to Oculus. We kind of got into some like InfoSec. By the way, I do want to do like a whole episode of the podcast on InfoSec at some point, like best ways to like protect yourself online, and ways to do it cheaply and effectively. If there's anyone out there who listens to the show who's an InfoSec expert and would like to come on, please hit me up.
I think he meant to say an InfoSec expert. How you doing?
Fuck, you're so good. You're so good.
Tell me something I don't know, Danny.
Well, do you know what's happening with Five Nights at Freddy's?
Oof. Yes. Especially as a big fan of the indie community. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so let's just dive into some controversy here, right?
Yeah.
I think this is probably the most controversial topic we've covered on the show in a very long time. And the outrage is focused on Five Nights at Freddy's creator Scott. Is it Cawthon? Cawthon?
I think it's Cawthon.
Cawthon?
It's pronounced Cawthon.
Cawthon. I think it's Cawthon. I'm gonna go with Cawthon. So Cawthon, who is a self-described conservative Christian, made several large donations to Republican candidates, including Donald Trump, Mitch McConnell, and Devin Nunes. And just as a side note, I just want to point out that Mitch McConnell looks like an animatronic.
I am a firm believer that he is the lizard people.
I actually made a note. He looks like the pale man from Pan's Labyrinth.
Holy shit, he does.
He is the pale man. Literally, like he's putting his eyeballs in his hand right now as we speak. Like, I hear someone talking.
You gotta do it with a Kentucky accent, though.
To the fried chicken.
Why did that sound so gross?
Because he was doing a Mitch McConnell impression.
It's very accurate.
Very
good reason.
So
It reminds me of that. Let me smell your breath. I know you drink my Mountain Dew.
So the campaign donations were discovered by someone going through a donation registry, which were available online, and many fans, particularly in the LGBTQ community, felt betrayed as many of the candidates who benefited from his donations have a horrible track record on LGBTQ plus rights, and many argue that those candidates are anti-LGBTQ plus. And it kind of goes along with the idea of trickle up money, right? And in a sense, customers, their money would trickle up supporting the things that they don't intend to support. And there was a lot of outrage about this. There's a lot of people very, very angry about this. So much so that apparently he was doxxed and received death threats. And I just want to say, fuck those people. I hope that is entirely unacceptable. And I hope that those people,
not okay.
I hope they slip and fall with hot coffee in their hands.
Woof.
I feel like that's an apt punishment. So Cawthon had this to say, and I am providing bits and pieces of his statement. So if you want his full statement, you can go on ahead and read it. It is publicly available on the Five Nights at Freddy's Reddit. Quote, "For those who took the time to look, you saw that the candidates I supported included men, women, white people, black people, Republicans, and Democrats. And yes, I supported, that's one part of the quote. I am kind of breeze through this. I'm going to try to remember to say, like, that's one part of the quote. Next is, and yes, I supported I supported President Trump because I felt he was the best man to fuel a strong economy and stand up to America's enemies abroad, of which there are many. Even if there were candidates who had better things to say to the LGBT community directly and bigger promises to make, I believed that their stances on other issues would have ended up doing much greater harm to these communities than good. All of this explanation, I fear, is wasted as people don't want to discuss with one another anymore. They want endless apologies and submission, and people who are expecting those from me will get neither." He goes on to say, I quote, "I've always been supportive of creators and have tried to treat everyone fairly and treat everyone with dignity and respect. I've never cared about anyone's race, religion, gender, or orientation. I just treat people as people, everyone the same, and because of that, I've ended up with a very diverse group of people that I've worked with over the years. It wasn't intentional, it just happened that way. I chose people who are best for the job, I treat everyone the same, and I ended up with people from all walks of life in my professional life and my personal life as well. That's the way it should be. That's the way I want it to be. That's the way I will continue to be." After he made that statement, I think another day, maybe two later, he announced that he was retiring from the Five Nights at Freddy's series after more blowback came from that statement, which is also notable because there is a Five Nights at Freddy's AAA title coming out, which is, Rev, what's it called?
I actually I can't remember exactly what it was called. I know that it's coming, and it looked interesting. Security Breach.
Security Breach. Thank you.
Yeah.
So that's the background of the situation, right? And I don't really want to talk about myself. I don't really want to talk about whether like he's right or wrong or anything like that, because I think that's for individuals to decide for themselves whether they agree with him or disagree with him. Really, what I want to talk about is how do you go about deciding whether to support somebody, and do you worry about how they're going to spend the profits that you provide them? I really do want to say, like, how you spend your money, it really is your personal business. If you like a certain product and you want to, like, and you like what that company, stands for and does, more power to you. Go on ahead and support that. And likewise, if you don't like a company for the things that they say and do and the things that they support, and you don't want to spend your money there, all the power to you, right? It really is your business how you spend your money, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, how important is what a company or a person does or supports or believes to you? And like, maybe we can have like some soul searching here, right? Like, I don't want to delve into whether Scott is right or wrong in his decision on how to spend his money, but really like
Mhm.
discuss where do we draw that line. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah.
So I guess I'll open it up and let you guys, whoever wants to take the reins first.
I mean, I can go ahead and start on this. I feel like for me personally, I feel like what the money is being spent on does kind of go a long way for me. Um, Especially if it is being spent in a political space to help try to secure funding for people who may be trying to do things ideologically or ethically different than what I believe, then yeah, it's going to be hard for me to want to support that company even if I like the product. Because here's the thing, there isn't that much out there that's so one of a kind that you have to have it. I mean, there are tons of games out there like Five Nights at Freddy's, built by indie devs who don't support the same politicians he does. Now, that's not to say that Five Nights at Freddy's wasn't very well put together in its lore and it's everything. Like, this whole world has been built around this, and it was very well done. But at the same time, for me, I mean, I'm not a big enough fan for it to matter, but that even comes down to like the Chick-fil-A thing. A lot of people are it's the same concept, right? I mean, the exact same concept, really. And for me, it's McDonald's spicy chicken sandwich is just as good as anything Chick-fil-A offers anyway. So, I mean, it's not going to hurt me to go to Chick-fil-A if it means not giving them, the few dollars to pocket to put somewhere else. Is it going to make a big difference in the long run? Probably not with something like that, but I mean, this dude full on retired. Now, again, I will say, doxing anybody is wrong. I mean, doxing and sending death threats and stuff like that is wrong. That's not how you resolve things in a rightful manner. And people will try to push back and say, well, they, what they were doing wasn't in a rightful manner. I'm like, okay, so you're going to stoop yourself to their level to try to prove that you're better, that you have a better sense of ethics. That makes that what sort of backwards fucking pageantry is that kind of situation. Um, but in the end, yeah, I mean, where the money if the money gets disclosed of where it's going, people find out, they have a right to be upset about it. If it's going directly against their beliefs or their ethics, they have a right to be upset about it. But that's what boycotting is for. Don't buy the product. Even get the news out there so other people don't buy the product. Hurt the pocketbook. It's best. I mean, that's the real thing you can do in America is hurt the pocketbook, right? And so, yeah, I mean, doxing is wrong. Boycotting is the right way to go about it, in my personal opinion. And I believe that if your ethics do stand on one side of the fence compared to the products, then by all means, yeah, just don't spend the money there.
Yeah. Green, do you want to say anything at this moment, or
Yeah, my biggest thing is like how many devs have how many devs have feasibly used the funds that they've received from video games to uh donate to platforms, political platforms. Is this like the first one that we're seeing that has actually made a big splash? Uh, that's my biggest thing is like how many have gone unnoticed to where it really isn't like a huge deal versus like now because it's put in the spotlight and it right now we're in such a rocky area when it comes to politics in the nation that it is now become something that is in the forefront. I I I I personally don't think his intentions were foul. Like political donations are such a weird place. Like in the case I think we're gonna be talking about Chick-fil-A, like they're directly donating to anti-LGBTQ. Uh, as for Scott, I don't think his intentions were directly pushing for anti-LGBTQ. Just because you donate to a particular politician doesn't mean you're donating for one specific issue.
Well,
That's where it's a tough area. You
well,
know.
the problem isn't necessarily if like the problem within the community was not even necessarily all about him donating to strictly anti-LGBTQ causes. It was his disregard for the LGBTQ community by donating to people that have proposed anti-LGBTQ laws in the past. So it was less about being strictly anti-LGBTQ as opposed to having a blatant disregard for that community.
Yeah.
That's what like yeah,
I see that. Yeah.
yeah, it's like a little bit like kind of in that little muddied water area that's still kind of like in a bad spot.
Yeah.
And
It's all gray. That's the issue. It's as you said, it's muddy. Like, I mean,
yeah. But again, people have the right to be upset if they know that if they find out that's where their money was going. But on the flip side of things, the money's his at that point.
yeah,
You know, like the money has it has changed hands. Therefore, he can do what he wants with it. You know, it's the biggest evil in all, or the biggest, not necessarily the biggest evil in all of this, but in this current situation, the doxing thing and the death threats and all that is completely inexcusable. Completely inexcusable.
100%. Yeah. So I don't know. It's everything is so gray, and like that's just my thought on it is I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it.
Yeah. So I've thought about a couple different situations. Like we mentioned Chick-fil-A, and another thing that kind of popped up. I had actually two more pop up in my mind as I was like writing my notes on this. The first being the creator of. Are you guys familiar with the anime manga series Rurouni Kenshin?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Are you guys familiar with what happened with that creator?
That I am not familiar with.
So
I've heard wasn't it? Go ahead.
I don't want to say the full words, but he was caught with material that would be considered child exploitation and child abuse.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And the reason I don't want to say the full words is because usually if I say anyone says those words, they get pushed down on YouTube and flagged. So the creator of Rurouni Kenshin back in 2015, I think, was caught with that kind of material. And so the question for a lot of people were, you know, do I continue to enjoy the franchise? Can I continue to enjoy the franchise? Right? Can I continue to watch and enjoy the movies and read the manga, right? Because it is a huge franchise. You know, it had a really popular anime run in the early 2000s, both in Japan and on Toonami here in the States. You know, it has a new movie coming out on Netflix. Like they dubbed a new movie for Netflix, right? So it's a really popular franchise that's still ongoing. And I think a lot of people had to do soul searching for that too. And I did too. I can't watch Rurouni Kenshin anymore. Once I learned, like, it ruined it for me. And I completely understand, like, people's feelings where, like, they now know this about Cawthon, and I can see people not wanting to spend money for them. I completely 100% understand that. And there's a question of the direct line, right? This here is kind of a direct line, right? This is money goes to Scott. He has an LLC set up. He probably has a few employees that he pays, but he holds the majority of the profits, and he has the right to do with that profit, but it's pretty direct, right? This isn't like you buy a game from EA and that money gets filtered and distributed, and then you have all this, you know, investor money that everything kind of gets all muddied together and pushed through different departments and, you know, accounting and taxes, and eventually who's the head of EA? Because Bobby Kotick is Activision. Well, I'll take, you know, I'll switch my example to Activision. You know, same fucking difference, right?
Right.
So
It's
all
a
that money gets
hypothetical situation.
yeah. So all that money gets filtered through, and eventually it makes its way up to Bobby Kotick. And Bobby Kotick, you know, he can spend his money the way he wants, and he probably donates politically, right? He's a millionaire. It's a little hard to imagine Bobby Kotick not donating money to some sort of fund.
Right.
You know, so should I feel just as guilty if Bobby Kotick donates to the same campaign and I bought something through EA, right? I purchased a Blizzard account or a World of Warcraft account. I spent money in the Warzone store. Should I feel just as guilty or should I feel just as angry as what Bobby Kotick spends his money or any of the other executives at Activision Blizzard, how they spend their money? Should I be just as angry for how they spend their money and if I spend my money with their company as I should with Scott? Right? Like, how far up the line do we say enough is good enough? And
Right.
the other thing I thought of was, and I don't know if he's still doing this, but it was a video that I saw of Killer Mike from Run the Jewels, who was challenging himself to keep his money black, right? And so he would only patron black-owned businesses with black employees. And there's like a point where he was like sitting at a restaurant and he had ordered food and LP was there. He's like, well, are you going to check and see if the farmer was black for that pork you're about to eat? He goes, fuck. Right? So how, like, the chain of logistics extends past just who's selling the product, right? It's like, how far do we take that chain of logistics up, right? Did he build it in Unity? Well, what is he paying for the license for Unity or Adobe Premiere or whatever else, you know, the modeling stuff, you know, how much is he spending on these licenses and what are those guys spending their money on, right? Because that's all part of it. And I don't think I personally have the mental or physical or emotional energy to have to process that choice for literally every single product I make. I think that's something that, like, I feel like people kind of ignore, that money gets mingled together and it moves around a lot and you can't control that. It's money has a law of inertia that basically it all comes to rest in the millionaires and billionaires, but it moves and it has impacts everywhere. And I don't think that we can just, you know, like you said, the money is theirs at that point, right? The transaction happened.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's a complicated situation, and I kind of wanted to really like bring that scope out for people who want to, you know, who want to think like they can control every aspect of their money and what happens after they spend it, because they can't.
Right. But at the same time, if they feel justified in boycotting the product because of what the owner of the company is doing with his profits, that's their decision to make.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Right.
That's
like,
why I said it at the top of like this discussion. It's like how you spend your money really is your business, and how you don't spend your money is just as justified.
Exactly.
Right. I can't fault anyone for making conscious decisions in their consumer habits.
But
right?
You can't break the law in protest of these things.
No. There's only times
boycotting is a legal process to pull that money from the profiteers' pockets. So it's the one way to hurt them, really. Because first off, let's be honest, in the past however long death threats on the internet have existed against famous people, how many of them have ever gone through with it anyways? Do something that's going to actually work and take their money away. If that's the route you want to go, if that's how you feel about it. I mean, all you're doing the other point is you're taking the lazy way out that's going to accomplish nothing. Take his money away. If that's your prerogative, hurt his pocketbook, because that'll do it faster than anything else.
Yeah. So I do kind of want to have this question though for you guys, because I think it is very interesting. Right? Executives at a bigger game company spend their money on anti-LGBTQ. Like, let's just say it's the exact same situation, right? They not even like so much so that they max, because what I understand is that he maxed out his donations to basically he donated directly to some campaigns. He donated directly to the National Republican Senatorial Committee, and I believe he also donated to the RNC. Right, those are the ones that the people are like actually like looking at and being like, hey, these are the ones we have issue with. Because he's also donated to Tulsi Gabbard. He also donated to a Democrat in Baltimore. But right, so Bobby Kotick, other executives, Yves Grimoire from Ubisoft, they make similar donations. Are you just as mad at them and decide not to buy their products as you would be if you're in that position, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where would you stand on that? Like, where's that line cut for you? Like, how big does the entity have to be in order for it not to matter?
Honestly, I'm a pretty fickle person. I'll like if I feel like it could be directly harmful in any way, shape, or form, it won't hurt my feelings to just not like I because there's nothing out there that's so nothing out there in the consumer world that's so important to me that I have to, for like if there was anything that would have been it, like it probably would have been out of all the things that have controversy around them at any entity, it'd be the Jeepers Creepers franchise, because I loved the Jeepers Creepers, the first and second movies, but similar situation with the Rurouni Kenshin guy. Similar situation. Haven't watched the movie since. Haven't streamed it. Haven't purchased anything. Haven't rented anything. Because as much as I like the movie, I mean, I have a ton of other things I could be doing.
Green, how about you?
It's just, like if it's something I don't agree with, like that I find that's like pretty fucked up, like donating directly to an anti-LGBTQ campaign or like a organization, then yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would gladly not play another EA or Activision game in that stance or in that instance. So,
and again, I mean, as big of an indie horror fan as I am, I've actually never played any of the Five Nights at Freddy's games anyway. So like that, like I'm not biased or anything because of it. Like there are a lot of people within the Five Nights at Freddy's community that are trying to like be biased about it and stuff. And then the same with like, I mean, again, like McDonald's makes a better spicy chicken sandwich anyways. Difference,
Yeah. I don't know. Like I have I don't know. It might be really a case by case basis of how I would decide that. I don't have like a good answer for like where my cutoff would be. Which I'm sure people are going to be like, oh, he just doesn't have any principles or no backbone, which I don't have much of a backbone as it is. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have a good answer.
I've spent a pretty solid portion of the show talking shit about backbone, so I wouldn't want one anyways, Danny.
Yeah. I do want to kind of follow up with a different question here. Is there a cause so good that a company comes out and says a portion of this product, the purchase from your product, is going to go to help support this thing, or we like a sustainable product? Like we recognize this issue, like cutting down trees for toilet paper, right? We recognize this issue. That's why we're doing these steps to mitigate that. What are those issues in for you guys that you see a company working to fix that and you automatically want to support them? Just like to bring up some wholesomeness.
If I were to try to narrow it down to a single one, first and foremost, it would have to be like something out of a designated month. Like if a company decides they're going to produce a specific piece of merchandise and a portion of those proceeds are going to go to whatever celebrated month that is, going to a charitable organization surrounding that, that automatically is a no-go for me. So no matter what the cause, even if it's a cause close to my heart,
like Pride.
yeah, let's take Pride for instance.
Because we're just
If
in Pride Month.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we're in Pride Month right now. Let's take Pride for instance. If a company decides to make Pride-based shirts or merchandise, and they say 10% of all proceeds from sales of these shirts will go to the Trevor Project. Now, granted, it's cool they're donating money to the Trevor Project. That's nice. But you're specifically profiting off of Pride Month in order to donate that 10%. You're trying to use that little amount of the proceeds that you're making to donate to the Trevor Project to market to make more sales and profit. That's not cool. Like, that's not cool for me. Like, I don't like that. But for me, if there was like one organization that would step forward and say something like, you know, every sale that we have moving forward, no matter what month it is, you know, if a portion of the proceeds of everything we do, this amount of our profits or whatever goes to studying the scientific side of mental health, you'd have me. You'd have me. A lot of psychological stuff is done for mental health, like a lot of therapy-based things and psychological stuff. Not enough is done in the scientific side because a lot of mental health issues revolve around chemical imbalances and actual biological issues, as opposed to just psychological issues. And I would like to see that be more expounded upon.
Green, do you have one?
Any company that does St. Jude's, I will never not support a company that supports St. Jude. I can't get enough of St. Jude. You know, I have a soft spot for kids, so eventually I will be cutting my hair and doing a charity stream for St. Jude's. So, yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah. So for me, one of the biggest things that I always look for is when a company can prove that they're doing something sustainably. There's like a toilet paper company who's making toilet paper out of bamboo. Right? They're like, we're not cutting down like any more trees. We're growing bamboo specifically for this purpose. Like, it's like 100% sustainable. Like, we're carbon neutral. Like, and they can prove it through documentation. I would love to buy their their toilet paper, but just the fact that like ordering toilet paper and also like it being a little bit more expensive than average toilet paper is a little like it seems a little inconvenient. But I like that. I would 100% if I had a better system of managing stuff like that, I would probably enjoy that. But like other like food companies, for me, I always do like looking for like sustainably sourced food. I really like home gardens and organic farms. You know, the sustainably managed poultry is a big thing for me. And I do sustainably managed produce. I love going to farmers markets and trying to find some of that stuff. I used to work at an organic farm. I know a lot about the process and like how things are done, and it's awesome.
Do you think if I wipe myself with bamboo toilet paper, a panda would eat my ass?
It's a great question. I'll consult.
We have a new
scientists.
question of the week.
New question of the week. So yeah, those are the things I always look for, is like companies that try to be carbon neutral and do their best to like. Also, just I know that there's going to be someone out there who's going to be like, who's going to complain about this, but also like reduce single-use plastics. If a company can reduce the amount of plastic they use and they put in their packaging, I don't know what that is.
That's a big ass water bottle, so I don't drink bottled water anymore.
Which
no more single-use plastic for me.
Yeah. So like I absolutely despise, like I have things that are single-use plastic, right? Like you sometimes just can't avoid it, right? You get like a bag of cookies or something like that. Like you just can't avoid it sometimes. But there's just like individually wrapped like snack cakes and all like the like little plasticky bits like on like your like the box your phone comes in, right? All like the little bits and like stickers and hate it. Absolutely hate it. So much waste. And there's no need for it most of the time.
You can put all that on paper, my guy. Like all the stuff on your phone case.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You can just put all that on some paper
and recycle it. You
Yep.
can make it out
Or
of
use it to
recycled
start
paper.
You could also make a bomb ass fire out of it for like a half a second if it's just that big. But whatever.
Also, as you pointed out, I think I pointed out last week this bomb ass tumbler I got from my girlfriend. And it's also a great time to plug the fact that next month we will have merch coming out for our 3rd year as a podcast.
Woo woo!
Holy fuck! And yeah, so our 3-year celebration, there's going to be a new mug, and a little teaser, little teaser here. Tumblers. We're gonna have tumblers. So yeah, I think that's it for this topic that we wanted to probably cover. Was there anything else on the Five Nights at Freddy, the FNAF controversy?
FNAF. I want to know how Jack Black feels about it. I want to hear Jack Black's opinion. I really do, because just like strictly because he actually spent a lot of time talking about it after it like first got announced. He spent a lot of time talking about it on TikTok, and I'm kind of curious as to Jack Black's opinion on all this.
Yeah. Jack
And
Black.
I didn't even think about that until you said FNAF, because that's what he always called it in his videos was FNAF.
Yeah. Jack Black, add us. Let us know.
Right?
Let us know. Add us. Green. Let's wrap up the show. What do you got coming on for your channel?
I'm definitely gonna be playing some Destiny, and I'm gonna try to squeeze in some Apex and possibly pick up Hunt Showdown. Possibly, we'll see. But yeah, twitch.tv/Mr. Green Elite. You can also check me out all the socials at Mr. Green Elite, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all the fancy things. So yeah.
Padre, what's coming up on your channel?
So it is Tuesday, right? So tomorrow, I've actually got to figure out what I'm doing. I have no idea, but I did start my new schedule. So I'm live Wednesdays through Sundays. Yeah, Wednesdays through Sundays, 6 p.m. Central. Alternating between Twitch and YouTube each day. I don't know what I'm going to be doing on Twitch. I know I'm going to be finishing Hickory on YouTube this week, and I'm testing the waters in Trovo. I'm going to use that as my go-to for my competitive games, multiplayers, and stuff like that. So you can find me on Trovo, Twitch, or YouTube at RevSpin, or literally all social medias at RevSpin TV.
Excellent. Coming up on my channel, I've been playing some Hunt Showdown. I've been enjoying it. I wanted to play with Baz last weekend, but that didn't end up happening. Hopefully it'll work out this weekend. And I never ended up doing Void Bastards. Just didn't end up happening. So I'm going to try Void Bastards if I can. Otherwise, I have no other real solid plans. I will be streaming Friday, Saturday, Sunday this weekend. I start a new job on Monday, so I don't know how that's going to affect next week at all. But yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter, Instagram at DannyK, DANIECAE. You can find me on TikTok and YouTube at Danny K Media. I do have a new TikTok up if you guys were interested in that. I haven't really been using TikTok that much, and I apologize for that. Yeah, that's about all I got for you. And I'm going to wrap up the show. We appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you for joining us. It really does mean a lot to us that you take the time to watch and listen. The most valuable thing you guys can give us is your time. So thank you very much. Don't forget the question of the week this week, which is, how do you stay hydrated? Let us know in the comments, or you can tweet at us. If you missed any part of the show, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and everywhere podcasts are found. Of course, if you are watching us on those platforms or listening to us on those platforms, you can join us live every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on twitch.tv/DannyK. If you want to help support the show, you guys can leave a like, subscribe, maybe leave a comment, answer that question of the week. That helps us out a lot. But the best way, number one way, is to tell your friends. Seriously, number one way to help us out. Tell your friends, retweet us, tweet out the show. You guys can even tag me. And if you do, maybe you'll get a shout out on the show. Maybe. Maybe Rev will give you big forehead kisses.
Absolutely.
Tickle you with his beard.
Ooh, speaking of my beard, and it's ASMR, right?
Oh, I don't know if you can say anything about that, though, can you?
Can't yet.
Can't yet. Yeah. Anyways, guys, have a good rest of your week. Keep fighting the good fight. Stay cool. Stay hydrated. And we'll talk to you guys again next week. Goodbye.
Hydrate or dihydrate.
I love you.